There was more violence along the Israeli border with Gaza today, but less than yesterday's explosive reactions to the opening of the new U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. At least 2 Palestinians died as a result of Israeli gunfire. World reaction including protests in and beyond the Muslim world, ambassador expulsions, and staunch U.S. support of Israel's actions. Nick Schifrin has our first report.
In Gaza, today was for burying the dead. Nearly 60 funerals in 24 hours, the deadliest day since the 2014 war. At Shifa Hospital in Gaza City, the wounded overwhelm the small staff who's chronically short of beds and supplies. In Ramallah, on the West Bank, young men threw stones and Molotov cocktails at Israeli troops. Israelis fired tear gas. Palestinians call today the Nakba, or catastrophe, the date 70 years ago when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were expelled or fled their ancestral homes on the day Israel was created. Mustafa Barghouti is a prominent Palestinian politician.
We're here to say that this Israeli oppression will not break our will or our popular resistance.
Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, the flags are flying above the new U.S. Embassy. In Jewish West Jerusalem, residents displayed signs thanking President Trump. But from South Africa to Turkey, protesters criticized what they called an Israeli massacre of Palestinians in Gaza. Turkey's prime minister called for Muslim countries to unite against Israel.
I am inviting all faith groups, all politicians, to be a united heart against the tyranny. Muslim countries should review their ties with Israel.
Today, Turkey expelled Israel's ambassador. Israel responded in kind, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu released a statement responding to criticism from Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. A man whose hands are drenched in the blood of countless Kurdish civilians in Turkey and Syria is the last one who can preach to us about military ethics. In London, British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson criticized both Israel and the militant group Hamas that runs Gaza.
I'm deeply saddened by the loss of life in Gaza, where peaceful protests are being exploited by extremists. I urge Israel to show restraint in the use of live fire.
But the U.S. stood firm. Only Hamas was to blame for the Gaza violence, said U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley.
For some people, the embassy opening is said to be a reason to engage in violence. How is that justified?
Instead of blaming the U.S. Embassy opening, the world should focus on Iran, said Israeli Ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon.
Iran is supporting the riots in Gaza. We regret every casualty. When we saw the pictures, we regret that, but they are being used by the Hamas.
But Palestinian Ambassador Riyad Mansour said Palestinians are expressing genuine frustration, and he asked for the world's help.
How many more Palestinians have to die before you take action?
But there is no momentum for that action, and the only communication between the two sides are during protests. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Nick Schifrin.